All right. Let's see here. That do it? Can you see or hear me, anybody? Let me know if you can. All right. Beautiful. Thank you, Lenina, Claire Burr, Care Bear Bonfire. Welcome, everybody, back to Paleontologizing. It's good to see you here. Glad you could join us. And welcome again to beautiful and windy Wyoming. Out here digging up dinosaurs and other critters today. In the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. Rock's about 73 million years old. I'm here at the Turtle Hill site again. Some of you might remember this from earlier in the season. And here I am again today with Mandy and with Fisher. So we're going to be looking at all kinds of kind of microvertebrates today, and some plants and some invertebrates and all kinds of nice Late Cretaceous goodies. Not necessarily many dinosaurs here, but lots of the other organisms that shared their world with them. Yeah, and if anybody's here for the very first time, allow me to introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. So, normally, when it's not summertime, I'm in my office, doing streams from the air-conditioned comfort of my office, talking about new fossil discoveries, new publications, new findings in the world of fossil science, answering your questions and doing artwork and 3D printing and sculpting and interviews with other paleontologists, all that good stuff. But it's summertime, and during the summer, I'm out in the field. And I've been very lucky to be able to bring that to you at home through the magic of satellite internet. We've got our dish over there, the solar setup, and so even way out in the middle of nowhere, I can still stream. So I'm glad you're here. Let me know if you've got any questions. And nice to meet you too, Nilo on Twitch. Welcome. Good to have you here. Good stuff. Who else have we got? Dinosaur Dave, Lenina, Matt M33, Cactus Jack, Arle. How are you doing, Dad? It's good to see you. Dilly Dally, Tatum, OK to Play, Scummy Mummy, Moose. How are you all doing? It is wonderful to have you here. I'm going to go put these sunglasses away and then have my water at the ready. If you've got any questions at all, do not hesitate to ask, including questions that maybe I couldn't get to last night with Matt, because we had to wrap things up and get some dinner. Last night was a short stream. Yesterday was, one of those days. I had a flat tire. Had to go into town and get that fixed. And then we got rained out multiple times during the day. But today has been pretty lovely so far. I'm having a good time here at Turtle Hill, and things are good. Yeah, I'll grab that one first. Nice. And I'll just put like this, get it out of the sun. Excellent. Yeah. So, shall we go look at the site? Yeah. And Hyperbaric Lyrics is, what's the work schedule today? We're focusing on any particular find? Yeah, you'll see. So at Turtle Hill, we've got mostly small stuff. It's kind of this nice, almost sampler box of like the different critters that were living in this environment alongside the dinosaurs. We're talking plants, we're talking invertebrates, and we're talking small vertebrate animals. Amphibians, chondrichthyan fishes, like cartilaginous fishes like rays and freshwater sharks and stuff like that. And of course, some bony fishes too. And that's really what we're excited about today. Fisher, I guess appropriately enough, there he is over there, my son Fisher. Yeah, he's got his sun helmet this year. That's awesome. But Fisher's been finding some great fish pieces, and so he's excited to show off some of those, and I'm excited to show you too. And Felix Matvey says, hello from Russia, sir. You don't have to call me sir. Just call me Danny. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. And hello from Wyoming, USA, the least populous state in the Union. There are fewer people who live in Wyoming than any other state in the United States. It's pretty sparse out here, but it is beautiful, and there are fossils galore. That's why we're out here. Yeah. And Blake MTG, is it possible to buy a real Spinosaurus tooth? I wouldn't do it, no. I really can't condone the purchase of vertebrate fossils like that, and it might be fake anyway. Yeah. And what find are you the most proud of, Brohawks? Great question. Do you mean so far this summer or over the course of my career? I found a new ceratopsian dinosaur back in 2012 that is still awaiting publication. But that's probably the find that I'm proudest of. Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to find out about that soon once we finally get the thing published. And good stuff, Big Bad Eric, thank you. And did you find the rest of the dinosaur whose dental bone you found at Turtle Hill earlier? Yeah, so that was a different site, Anonymous. That wasn't Turtle Hill. The denary... Let's see, we've got a couple different hadrosaur denaries from different duckbill dinosaur sites. But that's not this site. Yeah. Dash Share Fernando, how are you doing? Yeah. And Crimson Carnotaurus says, compared to the dinosaurs, are the fossils of smaller creatures relatively easy to work on? Or can they be more awkward? You will see. Let's go take a look. If Fisher can help explain this. So welcome to Turtle Hill, everyone. And it's called Turtle Hill because we had some turtle bits from here. Fisher's actually got a turtle bit right there to show you. Sure. Yeah. Still looks like a bit of plastron, maybe?
Yeah, I would assume as much.
Yeah, so the plastron's the chest plate of the turtle, the flat part underneath the carapace, under the turtle. And, yeah, so what's difficult about this site?
So, everything here is extremely fragile and extremely small. And so it really takes, some patience and precision to get out what you need from here.
Oh, yeah.
So even just using a small brush like this on some of the fossils you find here can completely destroy them, if you're too rough. So you have to, pick away at these layers, blow a little bit of the grit off, check to see if there's anything important there, keep going, and eventually if you peel up enough, you're going to find something really nice. And pretty much every time you do peel up sediment, you're going to find fossils of some sort of some form.
Yeah.
So we get tiny little fish here. We're getting some aquatic vertebrates like turtles, probably some amphibians and crocs as well. And then we've got these really beautiful big fish bones that are coming from this large bowfin called Melvius, probably about 10 feet long. A big carnivorous freshwater fish that we're quite interested in.
Yeah. That's what your SVP abstract is on this
year, right? Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And, Danny and many others are, all
authors
working
on
together
that,
to make this poster about this fish we've been working on to excavate here.
It's going to be cool. This might be the largest Melvius ever found, right?
And I think probably the most complete as well.
Exciting stuff. All here from Turtle Hill. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Fisher. I don't mean to interrupt you too much.
No, it's no problem at all.
We'll be popping in and out so to look at different things. That tiny vials box is intriguing. We'll probably want to see what treasures lie in that.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff in here.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to show you at some point.
Nice. Yeah. And then Mandy's got some cool plant fossils up there, too, that we'll take a look at in a little bit, I'm sure. But we'll wait for more people to trickle in. And, yeah. Same thing at the Ashland site. There you go, Paleontologist V8. Nice. Oh, an interesting dinosaur, Dave. Oh, very cool. Miragai has been synonymized with Dacentrurus. Well. I'll be excited to look at that. It's just every few days, like a new dinosaur genus or species is published, but occasionally you get dinosaur genera or species that get sunk, synonymized. It turns out they're the same thing. And I'm excited to read that. That sounds cool, Dinosaur Dave. Sounds cool. Yeah. And Slow Ride Dev says, how long have you been a paleontologist? That's a great question. It depends, I guess, on how you define a paleontologist. I've been doing fossil science since high school. So, like, helping with research, doing fossil prep, that kind of thing. I was lucky enough to be able to volunteer at the University of California Museum of Paleontology when I was, like, 15 years old. Yeah, but I don't know. The way that I define a paleontologist is someone who does fossil science and someone who publishes on fossil science. And I've been doing that for, I don't know, maybe since about 2012? So, a while. Yeah, about 11 years so far. My first summer in the field, summer digging fossils in the field was 2011. So I've been doing this for a while. Every summer except 2020 because of COVID. Yeah. And let's see here. Oop. Here, I'm going to put this down so I can scroll through. Yeah. And did he say bowfin? Yes, indeed, Dilly Dally. Yeah, bowfin, genus Amia. They've been around for a good while. And then we've got this one here, genus Melvius. So it's like a modern bowfin, but bigger. We're talking like maybe 3 meters long, like approaching like 10 feet. It's a big critter. Big critter. And Fisher will show you some more of it later. So to summarize my earlier question, the fragility of these smaller species are a lot more awkward to work on. Yes, Crimson Carnothoris, in this sense, yeah. And the rock just tends to kind of pull apart in awkward ways too, which makes things difficult. So Fisher's the right guy to be working on this site because he's very meticulous. He knows what he's doing. So since he got here, he's been in charge of the Turtle Hill site. And let's see. Oh, and that's cool, Dinosaur Dave. Very cool. Arthritis and a titanosaur tail. Pretty neat. Yeah. And hi there to you, Twitchy Nose Rabbit. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Good to have you here. And Lenina, I did tweak the opacity on the top text on the screen. Yeah. I was able to just double up that layer. So hopefully it's sitting properly and it doesn't look weird. But yeah. And yeah, let's see. And Crimson Carnothoris, even in Utah, it gets too cold in the winter in a lot of places to be able to do field work. Like where I'm going to be later in the summer, near Moab, Utah, it will be too cold there during the winter. And also, the schedule just doesn't work out because we rely on a lot of volunteers. And so, often younger people, and they have school during that part of the year. It's summer is the prime time. Even though it's ridiculously hot during the summer down near Moab, that's the time that we've got to work on these things. Yeah. And oh, and very cool, Dinosaur Dave. Very, very cool. Nice. And Twitchy Nose Rabbit, Brontosaurus still a thing, or did it become a Patasaurus? It depends on who you ask. So a while ago, Brontosaurus was synonymized with the Patasaurus. I have a command for this, by the way. It kind of depends on which sauropod worker you talk to. I'd say most people still don't use the name Brontosaurus, but there are some sauropod workers, people who work on these long-tailed, long-necked, four-legged plant-eating dinosaurs. There's some paleontologists who work on those who think that Brontosaurus actually is distinct and shouldn't be considered the same thing as a Patasaurus. So, you know, there isn't a super strong consensus on that yet. Anywho, yeah. Let me drink some more water. And Bowman AJ, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. All right. And we've already got 527 people watching. This is awesome. What day of the week is it, by the way, everybody? Is it Saturday today? I don't know. I've been working 7 days straight since we got here. And this is, I think, day 23 or 24 for me out here in the field. I'm going to go till the end of the month. So, yeah. I guess, gather ye rosebuds while ye may, you know? I'll find a place to put this in the shade so it doesn't heat up in the sun. But in a place where I won't lose it. I'll try under this bit of sagebrush here. There we go. And it is Saturday. Excellent. Good stuff. Well, yeah. We work 7 days a week out here. Because we've got limited time to do all this stuff. We still have several dinosaurs to collect. Yesterday, until we got rained out, I was doing overburden at the Ceratopsian quarry. So removing a bunch of the rock and stuff above the bone layer. And there's a big crew there today. But I got rotated out so I could do a stream. So, yeah, that's pretty nice. And also to give my hands a little time to heal. I've got some crazy blisters from swinging picks and shovels all day for the past 2 days. But things are good. Really gotten into the groove out here in the field. And I've got another, 8 6 or 7 days of work, and then we're gonna pack up camp, head back to Salt Lake City, and then I'm gonna fly home to San Francisco for a couple weeks for some R&R and some office streams before I head back out to Utah to do some excavations near Moab for about 3 weeks or so. Yeah. And Schizo says, what dinosaur has 500 teeth? I mean, there are a lot of dinosaurs that have got 500 teeth or more. A lot of the hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, they've got what we call this big dental battery. So all of these teeth, it's like a pavement of teeth. They can have up to like 1,000 teeth at one time. Nigersaurus is a sauropod from the nation of Niger in North Africa. And that one has got about 500 teeth, I think. Pelecanomymus also has a crazy number of teeth. I don't know if it's 500, but it's like, I think it's around 225, something like that. Yeah. All of those numbers are really high for dinosaurs. Most dinosaurs do not have that many teeth. Yeah. And let's see. But yeah, and I do have gloves. I've got several pairs of gloves, but gloves are often more of a hindrance than they are a help in a situation like this. You've got to be very, very precise with your fingers in this sort of a situation, and gloves do not help. Like, you will destroy fossils if you're using gloves at some of these sites. So gloves are a big no-no. And let's see. And Derek Helling Sports says, can anyone volunteer to help with digs? Generally, yeah. I mean, not anyone, but when crews like mine here are looking for volunteers, there's a few things that we're looking for. An interest in fossil science is definitely a plus, but you have to be good at being outdoors for, weeks or maybe months at a time. You've got to be content with sleeping in a tent every night, content with tent living. Eating rather simple meals, being under the hot sun for hours and hours and hours, not having running water or flush toilets or anything. And if you're good at manual labor, or if you're good at precise, meticulous, gentle work, like Fisher is over there, then, you might make a fine addition to a crew like this. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyway. And tartan. I don't know what that is, Crimson Carnotaurus. Tartan paint? Huh. Can't be a bubble boy digging for... That's true, Okregar. That is true. Although, if you were working in a lab, maybe you could. But yeah. And Disorganized Human says, the path to your career feels obscure, to be honest. It is. My career in particular. I'm the only person that I know who does this in the world. So, full-time paleontologist and full-time live streaming. First and only so far. But yeah. So my background is in paleontology. That's what I went to school for. I've been digging up dinosaurs and other fossil critters for 13 years now. This is my 13th summer in the field. Every year since 2011. With the exception of the year 2020 because of COVID. And I started streaming 4 years ago. And it was 2 years ago that I started streaming live from the field. Finally had the technology to do that. And it's been wonderful. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I got you, Crimson Carnotaurus. Okay, yeah. So it's like blinker fluid. Yeah. Or the, shoot, when I worked at an auto parts store back when I lived in Montana, anytime that they'd have a new employee at the other store across town, we'd call them up and, send them on a wild goose chase. Be like, yeah, I'm looking for a radiator cap for a 1968 Volkswagen Beetle. I hear it's kind of a rare part. Can you help me out? Stuff like that. And, Smay says, any bad luck this year because it's the 13th year? Not at all. It's been wonderful. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it continuing being wonderful. And Janine something says, do you use your Twitch proceeds to fund the digs? Kind of, yeah. So our work here is partially funded by members of this community. Last summer, we actually ran a big fundraiser and raised like $8,000 for supplies and food and vehicle rental and everything else last summer. And this year, we didn't have to run a fundraiser, but we had a bunch of different supplies that were purchased off of an Amazon wish list. So a bunch of our equipment this year was actually purchased by members of this community, which has been awesome. And we had a couple of benefactors who decided to open their wallets and help fund us. So it's been pretty incredible. So yeah, this is, I guess you could say, the first like big paleontological project that's ever been funded about 50% through the Twitch viewership. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. And Convos, not yet have I had opportunities to work on fossils discovered abroad, but hopefully soon. There might be some stuff in the works. So, wait and see. Yeah. And Deathsaurus, even in 2024 money, 50,000 a year is huge. We're operating on much less than that out here. Think like less than half of that. If that, shoot. Yeah. Paleontology is one of those sciences, especially like dinosaur paleontology, where we can do so much with so little money. You know, something that might be a drop in the bucket in a genetics laboratory or, I don't know, something like that. We could take that money and discover maybe 10 new species of dinosaur over the course of a decade. It's fossil science gets you a big bang for your buck, for certain. And I do really like the new tent fall machine. Yeah, it's been excellent. And there you go, Deathsaurs. Yes. And Kayla Levine, I am having a great day so far. I hope you are too. How are you? Welcome back to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. But yeah, everybody got to see the tent last night, actually, during our brief stream from camp. Good stuff. Anyway, let me drink some more water while I've got the chance before more questions roll in. And Disorganized Human, how are you doing? Welcome. Good to have you here. Alright, which sagebrush was it? It was this one here, where I hid my canteen. It's funny, I haven't really drank much water today compared to yesterday and the day before, doing overburden. Today's been a lot more chill. I can show you what I was working on earlier, everybody. And thank you, Golganek. I appreciate that. Yeah. Nice. Let's see. And Tim the Sorcerer the Third. Is that a Monty Python reference? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Welcome. Streaming to you live from the wilds of windy and beautiful Wyoming. Look at those clouds up there. Beautiful, fluffy clouds. We had some bad weather yesterday. Thunder and lightning and lots of rain and hail. Today, it is beautiful. Not too hot. Just the right amount of wind to help cool us off a little bit. Could be cooler, but can't complain. Wyoming-wise, this weather's pretty good. And what do we do in the event of unfavorable weather conditions? We still go out to the dig sites to monitor? We kind of did yesterday, Carnotaurus. So yesterday morning we had a lot of rain, and then it let up for a little bit. We went back out to the sites, and then we got rained out after that. Also, I got a flat tire yesterday and had to drive all the way to town to get that patched. Had to stop and use my air compressor to fill up the tire like 4 times on the way in, so it didn't go completely flat. That would have been awful. But managed to get it done. The roads out here are mostly pretty good. Like, they don't get super muddy or anything, but they are, sometimes it seems, about 50% comprised of nails and other pieces of sharp metal. So we go through a lot of tire patches out here, I'll say that. Yeah. versus no spare tire, it's just a donut. And it was much easier to just not have to change out the tire. It was much easier the way that I did it, and I'm glad I did. I don't have a full spare. Yeah. But yeah. Anywho, let's go see what's going on over here at Turtle Hill. So this site is called Turtle Hill because it was initially discovered because of some turtle fragments that somebody found here. Might have been Logan, I'm not sure. But somebody found this site, I think in 2021, and we've been coming back every year since. And it is a bonanza of all kinds of little fossil goodies here. This, you could make an argument that this is our most scientifically important site here in the Almond Formation. Just because the faunal list for this site and floral list grows and grows and grows. This is like a lovely sample platter of these different critters that lived alongside the dinosaurs here. I know I'm super interested in the dinosaurs, that's what I work on as a dinosaur paleontologist, but dinosaurs aren't everything, you know? We also need a full understanding of what this ancient environment was like. So any bit of information we can get about what the plants and the other animals aside from dinosaurs looked like, what kind of environment this was, you know, all that information is extremely valuable. And welcome, Mick Canary. It is good to have you here. Welcome to Paleontologizing, streaming live from the field. But yeah, let's check out the site here. All right. So, this environment represents, well, these rocks right here represent probably like an ancient lake, sort of a freshwater environment here, and I'll show you why we know that in a bit. In fact, I'll show it to you right now. Let me show you how we know that this used to be a freshwater environment. We've got freshwater clams here. What we call unionid clams. Just like this. Check that out. Isn't that pretty? And these even aren't even the prettiest ones. We already collected the slab that's got the most beautiful clams on it. But yeah, really nice. So sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge to be able to tell like freshwater from brackish water from like a marine environment, but this makes it pretty clear. This is a freshwater environment. I would guess with kind of like flowing water if we've got clams like this. But we've got more clues as to what this environment was like just around the corner. But pretty cool, right? Yeah. And with the freshwater fossils and land fossils, so Hugh, these are freshwater fossils from a terrestrial environment. So these are from like rivers and lakes that are on land, kind of up from the coast a little ways. Yeah. Shoot, before we get into that, let me give you a little visual aid here to help explain what's going on here in this environment. So nowadays Wyoming looks like this, you know? Kind of a high desert environment, very dry, about 7,000 feet above sea level, which is what, like 2,200 meters, something like that. But it was not like this 73 million years ago. At that time, when these rocks were being deposited, this environment looked very, very different. It was sea level. Because this is what North America looked like at the time, roughly speaking. Wyoming is right here, this rectangle right there. And so at the time, Wyoming, beachfront property. So this is supposed to be 70.4 million years ago. And these rocks were laid down 73 million years ago. Give or take, maybe a few 100,000 years, something like that. So at that time, the Western Interior Seaway had actually expanded a bit. And so the coastline was over here, near where we are. So yeah, the Western Interior Seaway comes about in the Late Cretaceous. Sea levels were very, very high, and the middle of North America just got inundated. And so that seaway ebbed and flowed, expanded and contracted, advanced and receded multiple times through the Late Cretaceous. And we can kind of see that here in the rocks too, because we have sequences here that are marine and then are terrestrial and then are marine again. So we can see when that seaway was transgressing and then receding as the sea levels were rising and falling. And that changed the environment a bit every time that happened. So anyway, but here, 73 million years ago, these rocks represent a kind of a near-shore environment, terrestrial. And if you want to have like a decent picture, if you want to be able to imagine what this environment was like back then, maybe think of present-day Louisiana. You know, kind of a bayou sort of environment, kind of a floodplain near the coast, very low-lying, very wet, almost tropical. Yeah, think of the Mississippi Delta. That's the sort of environment we're talking about here. Really lush plant growth, like I said, pretty wet, and the different critters living there in this kind of swampy, boggy, floodplainy environment would be things like a lot of turtles, things like lizards, although I don't know if we have any lizards yet. There definitely were lizards here. And then freshwater fishes, things like gar and bowfin. And we've got bowfin fossils that I can show you in a little bit. But let me catch up to chat, see if you guys got any questions. Yeah. And let's see. Do you need to know geography for this thing? It says Gisela. You kind of need to know a lot, I guess, in order to be able to understand what's going on in this environment. You have to have an understanding of the ancient geography, the ancient climate. You have to be able to read the rocks to be able to tell what this environment was like back then. You need to know a lot of, anatomy, osteology, kind of the shapes of different bones and why they matter, all that stuff. All of this kind of fits together to give us a picture of what this ancient environment was like and what these critters were doing here. Paleontology is a very integrative science, I guess. It takes bits and pieces of all kinds of different fields. You could think of paleontology as kind of a mixture of biology and geology. Biology, the study of life; geology, the study of rocks and the history of the earth. Paleontology kind of combines those, along with everything else that goes with them. Chemistry and physics and zoology, botany, all kinds of stuff. And let's see here. And John Stratz says, this is nostalgic. Reminds me of school when I was a kid. You must have gone to a cool school. Holy cow. Welcome. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. And not astrology, Dasher Fernando. Maybe a little bit of astronomy, in the sense that the age of the dinosaurs was ended, we think, by a giant asteroid that hit the Earth in the Gulf of Mexico. And thank you, Aurora Elias, for that gift sub. Those gift subs, 5 of them. Really appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Excellent. Really appreciate that. Yeah. Anyway. And Crimson Carnotaurus asks, carbon dating is only good for thousands of years. That's true. The half-life of carbon-14 is something like 50,000 years. So carbon dating will not work on these rocks or these fossils. They are far too old for that. What methods do you use to determine the age of millions of years old specimens? So we've got other radioactive isotopes. So rather than carbon-14, we can use things like uranium, which decays into lead. We've got also different isotopes of uranium that decay into other isotopes, like uranium-238. Argon dating, potassium-argon dating, stuff like that. So stuff that it takes longer to decay than carbon-14 does. It's got a much longer half-life. That's the stuff that we can use for places like this. And any spectroscopy. I haven't been doing any McCanary, but I bet you there are paleontologists who do use spectroscopy, but I am not an expert in this area. So yeah. And Big A Clown says, that's awesome. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was younger, but disability ended up preventing that. It's cool to get to see the actual sites live. I'm glad you can. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's the whole point of these streams is to be able to, it's the whole reason for doing these streams in the first place. Whether I'm at home in my office or out here in the field, you know, I want to make fossil science come alive for you. I want to show you how we do it. Hence the name Paleontologizing. You know, we're doing paleontology here. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Oh, and thank you, Claire Burr. Did we finish with the horned dinosaur from the other site? No. We'll be working on that for the next week, at least. So we basically exhausted all of the bones in the area that we were working. So we had to go back further into the hill in order to find more bones. But in order to do that, we had to clear a lot of rock from up above, what we call overburden. So all of this stuff that overlies the bone layer. And so we spent the past, it'll be 3 days now, as of today, just clearing away a lot of that stuff, including some of the giant boulders that are up on the hill, too, that you may have seen earlier in the week. A lot of those are down, being pushed off the site now, so that we've got more space to work and we can dig in further. So that is the site that we're going to be working basically until the day that we leave, we think, because it's very important, and we need some more bones from the face of that horned dinosaur in order to be able to properly describe it, because it seems to be new. We think it's a new species or even a new genus. We're very excited about that. And yeah. Anywho, let's go back and check on Fisher again. And yeah, Lenina, Ken will be back out there tomorrow. He's bringing you high fives from the mod team. Excellent, Lenina. And he'll be out all week, as I understand it. Like, almost until we leave, I think. So that's pretty exciting. It's going to be good having Ken back out here. Yeah. And Claire Burr says, I was speculating that you were taking down the wall that chat had been sitting on. Absolutely we were, yeah. Yeah, we did that over the past 2 days. So that's gone. all that ledge is... We pushed back the back wall of the quarry like 5 or 6 feet at least. And they're working on more of that right now as we speak. So we should have a lot more surface area to find bone in. What part of the Ceratopsian did we find at McCanary? It's all been skulls so far. So we've got some bones from the frill. We've got a parietal. We've got at least one part of the squamosal, maybe 2 parts of the squamosal, the big parts of the frill in the back. And then what could possibly be a jugal, one of the cheek bones, like the cheek spike. And a few other bones we haven't been able to identify yet. We won't be able to until we get them back to the lab and clean them off. We're able to really figure out what they are. But we're very excited. We've got already the 2 most important bones, the parietal and the squamosal, and we are excited about that. And after this site, are there any plans for another one? That's the thing, Big Mo, is that this site, Turtle Hill, we will probably be digging for years and years and years because it is so rich. The Ceratopsian site will probably, hopefully, come back to next year as well. And then some of our duck-billed dinosaur sites will also require future work in future summers. So we've got our work cut out for us here. There's a lot to do. Yeah. This is what I was working on this morning. So, yeah, there was a lot more rock here earlier going up to there. So I was able to carve this down and create a nice little work surface here. I basically got it down all the way to where we will expect to find more material under there. And then I stopped because it was time to stream. And because I don't really have the kind of expertise to work confidently at this site in the same way that Fisher does. So maybe he'll get to work over here tomorrow or some other lucky person. But hopefully there are fossil treasures galore just underneath this layer where it's kind of brown up here. The gray part here is where we expect to find more of this material like Fisher is working on there. So how's the turtle coming along?
It is actually about ready to come off.
Nice.
But I wanted to let you guys see it one more time before
I
get it flipped in the backside good and then wrapped and put away.
Are you going to gypsona that or just kind of flip it as
is? Just flip it, put a lot of glue on the backside because it's going to be a pretty thin layer of matrix that's coming out, and then wrap it up in toilet paper and paper towels and tape that and then put it in a bag and then put it in a box.
Nice.
So
we're very safe and careful with these.
All the measures we can to keep these really delicate fossils in one piece to take them back to our repositories.
Excellent. Yeah, this is How many different turtle taxa do you think we have here so far? Like 3?
It's hard to say. Yeah, probably at least 3.
Yeah,
potentially more.
Nice. So at least 3 species of turtle. Yeah, Turtle Hill living up to its name.
Yeah.
Very cool. Here, I won't put the pressure on by watching you do the flip, but yeah, thanks, Fisher.
No problem.
Yeah. And then we've got, these are cool. Bags of matrix here. Matrix is the surrounding rock around the fossil. And so at a site like this, with all of these beautiful little goodies coming out, there will be things that we will miss in the field. Like, there are things that we will not be able to spot because they are too tiny, and we don't have microscopes out here. So it helps to just bag up some of the matrix, some of this rock, and be able to take it back with us. So that's what these bags here are for. Really trying to be as meticulous as we can. And yes, indeed, Big Egg Clown, the hills are alive with the sound of turtle. Yeah. With sounds they have sounded for 73 million years. And how many different types of turtles are there, says Jason? That's a good question. We don't really know in this formation. There's not been a single species of turtle, I think, that's been published on, like, officially recognized from the Almond Formation of Wyoming yet. So all of these are going to be scientifically important. Even if they're not new species or new genera, they will at least be like the first occurrence from this particular formation. And that alone is exciting. But turtle diversity at this time and place would have been very high. So this is about 5 million years before, say, like the Hell Creek Formation of places like Montana and the Dakotas. And the Hell Creek represents the very end of the age of dinosaurs, and that was like turtle heaven. There's something like 25 species of turtle that all lived at the same time in the same place in the Hell Creek Formation. 25 species of turtle. It would have been incredible for them. And the crazy thing is, most of them survive the big asteroid impact, you know, the end Cretaceous extinction event. I think it's only like 3 species that go extinct at the KPG boundary at the end of the age of dinosaurs because of the asteroid. Most of them survive. So, I don't know. It was a good time to be a turtle, and then it was a slightly less good time to be a turtle, but still a really good time to be a turtle afterward. Yeah. But yeah. Anywho, Caterpiggle says, I want to go to turtle heaven so bad. Well, I don't know, maybe consult with a turtle theologian. See about how to do that. And Salty Murloc says, how do you keep your beard looking that good in the field? I did trim it about 5 days ago. Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I also got a professional beard trim before I came out here about a month ago. And that was a good choice in hindsight. I'll probably be doing that again before I go back into the field in mid-July. And Yenzoku says, do you guys look for insect fossils as well? We're at this site, we're finding anything at all that we can. So a lot of invertebrates like clams and mussels and other gastropods and stuff like that. Gastropods, I guess, are a kind of mollusk, along with clams. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then a lot of small vertebrates, little fishes and things like that. Amphibians, sharks and skates. Chondrichthyan fishes like that. And then lots of plants, too. We haven't really found any insect fossils yet, just because it doesn't seem like this environment is the right kind of environment for preserving chitinous bodies like insects have. But if we do have evidence of insects from this site, it'll probably be in the plants. There are a number of different insect groups where, like, our earliest known occurrence for them, like the oldest fossils from a particular insect family, come from feeding traces on plants. So insects, when a lot of them are eating leaves, they leave very telltale marks. So they've got like a very specific way how they munch on the leaves, and it leaves, bite marks that are very easily identifiable. Or I don't know if it's easily identifiable, but it's distinctive at least. And so we've got a bunch of beautiful fossil leaves here, and if we're really lucky, some of them might have insect feeding traces. Yeah. Anywho, good stuff. And McCanary says, what's been your favorite small find so far? Any other small, fun fossils you found yet? I've not really been doing a lot of the work here at Turtle Hill. But of the things that other people have found, I think this like Clythrum that the Fisher's been talking about is really exciting. It's not super small. It's supposed to be like a small fish bone, but this is from a huge fish. And so if you're good, chat, maybe in a little bit we'll show it to you, because it is pretty neat. Is that still available for viewing, Fisher?
It sure is. Not all of it. A lot of it's still under overburden.
Okay.
I can show you guys what we have.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Lucky us.
So here's the backside of our turtle.
Nice.
Got
The underside.
flipped over.
Beautiful.
We've got a lot of tiny little fossils all in this hash layer. If you zoom in on that, you might be able to see some.
Yeah.
There's like a piece of a rib here, some fish
Nice.
bone. Over here, I've got the crown of what looks to be a crocodile tooth.
Oh,
So,
very nice.
Brachychampsa. So this
Yeah. Let's put that in real nice and tight so we can see.
right there.
Yeah. Look at that.
So if you look real close, you might be able to see some of the vertical lines that indicate that it's a crocodile tooth.
Yeah, that fluting that crocs have got in their teeth.
And then right next to it, I've got a tiny little fish vert.
Nice.
Right there.
See, this is super small stuff, chat.
This isn't even nearly close to the smallest stuff we get, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can tell it's a fish vert because they have a vertebral morphology or morphotype called amphicoelous, where both sides are
Yeah.
concave. So they're pretty distinctive. We're getting big verts of the Melvius, the big amid, popping out here. They're about
Bowfin, yeah.
That big.
That's huge
Yeah.
for a fish vertebra.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, this is a big fish.
And then right under here,
The thing de resistance. Look at that. Oh, man. So the Clythrum?
yes, it's the Clythrum. So it's going to be a bone that's right behind the gills. So the gills are covered by a bone called the operculum, and right
Yeah.
behind the operculum, you're going to have the Clythrum.
Nice. Look at that. That is, use my fingers for scale. That is big. Holy moly. So that's tough. It's going into the back
Yeah,
wall there, so you're going to have
right
to clear
here.
a lot of that
I
off.
think it ends right about there, but the other tip of it's going to be underneath this
Nice,
ledge of
nice.
rock.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for-
no problem. The issue with this really is that up here, higher up, is another bone layer. So I was trying to take a lot of this down earlier in the week, but I ended up coming across this bone here, which I don't
Oh,
know
yeah,
how
who
visible
is that?
That might be Melvius. That might also be a croc, because back here towards the wall, it gets a lot thicker, which is kind of abnormal for these fish skull bones.
Uh-huh.
And then a little higher, if you look real close, you might be able to see a cross section of a bit of turtle shell up there.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. Okay, yeah, I see it there. Nice. So yeah, working at a site like this can be complicated. You've got to be really smart about how you work it, and that's why Fisher's in charge here. Call him the Micro King,
Yeah.
because he's very good at these small, fiddly little fossils. Very patient, very meticulous, and yeah, it's good to have him here. Good stuff. And this is the kind of fishing I'm totally on board with, says Anonymous. You know, me too. My favorite kind of fishing. Yeah, Fisher the fish guy, says Clipper. Fisher's actually a mammal guy, not just by phylogeny, but also by research interest.
Yes. Aspiring, at least.
Yeah. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll find some mammal bits in there.
That's
Because,
the hope.
yeah, mammals are kind of a minor part of this environment. Their fossils are extremely rare. I don't think there's ever been a mammal fossil ever reported from the Almond Formation.
No, I don't.
But if anybody's going to find one in any place, it's going to be Fisher, and it's going to be here. So, yeah, good stuff. Oh, and you're getting compliments on your sun helmet. Fisher.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It was a graduation gift, so I recently just graduated from my undergraduate studies at Ohio University. So a friend of mine gave this to me.
Congratulations. And that is official USPS
That's
issue,
correct,
right?
yes.
Yeah, from the United States Postal Service. Not like my military sun helmet. Although they look very similar. Different colors, but it's very similar mold to it. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, thanks, Fisher.
Of course.
Cool. Yeah. And in a few minutes, we'll probably go up and say hi to Mandy and take a look at some plant fossils if she's cool with that. But she's up there right now, cracking some of these slabs open, looking for plants in there. That's how you find plant fossils. She'll hopefully show you in just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. And Big Mo says, I wonder how many things we miss if the digs are not done by scientists. Pretty much everything. That's why at a lot of different construction sites nowadays, if there's budget for it, they'll actually hire archaeologists. If there's more budget, they'll hire paleontologists to be on site too, so that if anything interesting gets dug up during an excavation for a new foundation or a road or something like that, that way the fossils don't get destroyed. It's usually archaeologists who are there. It's kind of rarer for paleontologists to be on site, but it does happen. And it's probably the majority of paleontologists currently employed in the United States are employed as mitigation or monitoring paleontologists. So they'll be on site at different construction excavation sites like that. And that's how they make their living. We've had a few different monitoring paleontologists on our crew this summer. People who that's what they do for their day job. And then they get to come out here and, do some proper field work, This is the kind of stuff we dream about. Yeah. And there you go, DNH. It is like a paleontologist version of Jenga, what Fisher's doing over there. For certain. Yeah. And hello, F. Mike. Welcome. Good to have you here. How you doing? Yeah. And Pfeiffer John says, hi, Danny and team. Hope the Turtle Hill and other dig site are going well. Thanks, Pfeiffer John. They are going well. At least we know Turtle Hill is going well. Hopefully it's not total chaos over at the Ceratopsian site. I've not been there since this morning. But that's where I was the last couple days doing some overburden, removing the rock from above the bone layer. Yeah. Yeah. And hey, Relo Rolo, welcome. Good to see you. Just drinking some water here. Well, welcome back to Wyoming. Good to have you. There we go. And Hugh Fun says, must be so nice spending a month out in nature. It definitely is. This is something, honestly, that I look forward to all year long. It's, I don't know, fieldwork for me is just such a nice kind of reset for the rest of the year. For paleontologists who do fieldwork, it's like our whole year kind of revolves around that. It's like, this is like New Year's out here. And, just being able to spend so much time out in the wilderness, like away from the things of man. It sounds corny, but it's kind of magical. And you're surrounded by, a few people, but they're people that share your same interests and values generally. And it's just really nice being around colleagues and friends. And, it's like an extended camping trip, but with very, very hard work. And you're doing it for a larger purpose, for the advancement of science, or something bigger than just yourself. It's nice to be part of a real project like that. It's kind of nothing else like it. I love fieldwork. I was born to do this, so I'm very happy to be out here. And I'm only able to be out here because of you wonderful supporters. So thank you for making this possible. Making it possible to stream out here, and I can still pay the bills while doing what I would love to be doing anyway. If I were independently wealthy, this is what I would be doing. I'm not, but I still have the freedom to be able to do this because of you. So thank you. It means a tremendous amount to me. It makes me really, really happy. I was born to do this. Yeah. Any troubles moving that large fossil from the other day? Pfeiffer John, that was actually really easy. So it was a really smart move to carve it down as thin as we did, to get that jacket really, really thin, because it was a breeze to carry. And we found another really important bone while we were thinning that down. So we're super excited about that. It's moved up in our priority list for fossil prep. And it went off without a hitch. And Mick Canary, the Triceratops Torosaurus debate continues. It kind of ebbs and flows. I'm still convinced that Torosaurus is an adult Triceratops. Hopefully there will be some more Museum of the Rockies specimens published soon that should be more or less a smoking gun for this sort of thing, but there have been delays in publishing for reasons I will not discuss. Let's see. And will I be streaming again from the Ceratopsian site with Matt and Nick Niffler? Hopefully tomorrow. We'll see. It's really nice to be here today. I don't have to do overburden all day. I don't have to keep getting these, horrendous blisters on my hands. I've got a day to heal up and just kind of hang out at Turtle Hill and do a stream. I can't really stream overburden. That's the thing. It's just not really a streamable activity, at least not at that site. So, yeah, it's been a couple days since I did a proper fieldwork stream. And Ethan stuck me on this site today, partly so I could do that, and then I could help out Fisher here. Yeah. And am I familiar with the Saurophaganax? I am, the giant allosauride from Oklahoma, from the late Jurassic period. Do you think it's a separate species or another kind of Allosaurus? I don't know. I don't really work on Allosauroids in particular, so I don't necessarily have a horse in that fight. I'm always kind of I always have a tendency to lean toward just if there's a really big dinosaur that looks similar to a smaller dinosaur, maybe it's just a full-grown adult, But I've heard some people say that it might even be a Carcharodontosaur and not an Allosaurid. So I don't really know what to think. Yeah, I don't work on those guys in particular. So again, I don't have a horse in that fight. But great question. I appreciate it. Jury's still out on those guys. And let's see. Arita Ken wife gloves. Really, yeah. So I was wearing gloves both of those days. When you're swinging a pick or a shovel all day long for like 8 hours straight, you will still develop blisters even with really good gloves, and I have really good gloves. Yeah. And then you start bleeding into the gloves, and then you... yeah. That's what happened yesterday. And... anywho. And what shrubberies... oh, Hugh, these are mostly sagebrush. Might be some coyote bush, too. A rabbit brush. But mostly sagebrush. So... here, take off a piece. It is related to sage, like, you might use in the kitchen. And it smells really... it smells like fieldwork. It smells like summer. It smells like science. It's good stuff. And Miss Caprikel, I'm glad somebody laughs at my stupid jokes. These aren't tumbleweeds, Claire. These are a different kind of plant. Tumbleweeds are actually invasive. They're from Russia originally. I think seeds came in on saddle blankets or something like that in probably like the 1850s. And then it's just spread across the American West. So there's tumbleweeds all over the place, but they're not really... and there's also multiple species, I think multiple families. Like, say, tumbleweeds are not all closely related to each other, but the kind of... as I understand it, not being a botanist... the like classic Hollywood tumbleweed from Western films and stuff, that's native to Russia. Sagebrush are native to North America. Yeah. And yeah. And Mikey likes says, even with calluses, you'll get blisters digging like that. Yeah, and that happened. I had calluses on my hands that were obliterated and became, just bloody spots on my hands. It happens. And Crimson Carnotaurus, I think so, yeah. Jim Kirkley can tell you a bit about this, too. There's this other kind of invasive plant that get down in Utah called cheatgrass. And it is not fun. Ugh. But it's all over the place. And Russian thistle is the proper name of the tumbleweed. Thank you, Dave Nevius. They're almost impossible to kill. Yeah. Speaking of plants, actually, let's go up and talk to Mandy if she's not too busy. And oh, there you go. Thank you, Venus Tranquility. Tumbleweed, wind witch, and Russian cactus are among the common names for Russian thistle, Salsola tragus. Although it isn't a thistle or a cactus, at all and is instead part of the amaranth family. Interesting, Venus Tranquility. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate the knowledge there. Excellent. I'm going to be learning more about plants in July because I ordered some books about Mesozoic plants and I'm eager to read them. They're waiting for me back home in California. Yeah, speaking of plants, let's go talk to somebody who knows a thing or two about them and is finding some right now. So the way that we find fossil plants in an environment like this, goes like this.
Whoop. Sometimes the block breaks in the wrong spot.
It's gonna break where it wants to break, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I
look at that.
was working on this side.
Oh my goodness.
And actually that just broke exactly where I wanted it to. So
that is
now
gorgeous.
I have both part and counterpart of this.
Look at that.
Nearly complete fossil leaf, yeah.
That way. Nice. You can even see the veins on it, Chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Gorgeous.
And so this one's a keeper because we have the base, a lot of the edge of the leaf. We can see multiple orders of venation, the primary vein, the secondaries, the veins that run between those. And so that allows us to be able to compare it to other leaves and help identify and compare them to each other. So those are keepers. Cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this is a block I just pulled out. We found a really good leaf layer a few days ago, and I pulled out the last block of that really good leaf layer, and I'm working my way through trying to see if we can pull any more good leaves out before we wrap up this quarry.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah. And I heard you were talking about insect damage earlier.
Yeah, do we have some?
No, I looked through everything I had here, and I couldn't find any really good examples. But I can kind of show you how you would identify it if you did find leaf damage. So you would be looking at a leaf, and you'd be looking for holes. And if you find a hole, the key to showing that it's something that happened to the leaf while it was still alive is looking for a rim of darkened tissue around the hole.
Kind of a healing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we call that reaction tissue, reaction margin, or reaction rim. And so you can see that in the middle for hole feeding, along the edges for edge feeding, or sometimes insects will eat all of the tissue but leave the veins behind, and that's skeletonization is the name of that type of insect feeding damage. And that tells a whole lot about different groups of insects that are alive at different times. And so there are people who just study insect damage on fossil leaves. They look across different boundaries, like the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, to see how insects were affected by the same events that affected non-avian dinosaurs. So they can see like certain types of feeding might decrease or even go extinct at the boundary, or other things might become more abundant afterwards. So that's one cool thing you can do with fossil leaves to understand the broader environment. Sometimes we may never find an insect fossil, but we'll find tons of their traces and have an understanding of how they lived and what they ate.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to introduce yourself to the chat
real
quick,
Tim? Hey, my name's Mandy, and I work at Carnegie Museum of Natural History. You've been chatting a lot with my husband, Matt Lamanna, recently. So I work in our education department, but my background, I started out really interested in fossil leaves, so I spent several years doing fossil field work looking for leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's fun to be back out doing something that I haven't really spent a lot of time doing in the past 20 years.
Awesome.
But I'm also a field educator. I love to teach students about geology and paleontology.
And you spent a ton of time out here in Wyoming.
Yeah. Nearly almost all of my summers since maybe 1999, with breaks here and there. Mostly over in the Laramie area, co-teaching a field course focused on Jurassic dinosaurs. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So out of everyone on our field crew here, Mandy probably knows the most about Wyoming, probably by a pretty wide margin.
No, I seriously doubt that's true, but I have my fun facts.
Yeah. Now, we had a question about how fossils like this actually form, something as delicate as a leaf.
That's a great question.
Yeah, how does that get preserved in the first place?
It's so incredible to like open up a block and look at something. This is 73 million years old, and it looked like it just fell off the tree. But especially now that we're thinking this is a lacustrine environment, a lake, what happens is leaves fall off of trees in the autumn, or just whenever they senesce, whenever they fall off the twig, and then they land in different environments, and if it's a very turbulent environment, they're going to get all knocked up. They're not going to survive. But if it's a quiet, calm environment, they'll fall to the bottom of a pond or a lake. And then if they're very quickly covered by another fine layer of sediment, then they can be preserved really well. And so lake environments in particular are where you find the very best fossil leaves. To the detail of like highest order of venation, sometimes you can see glands and teeth in the edges of the leaves. So it's really amazing what you can find in the right environments. And the calmer and the more quickly they're buried by fine-grained sediment, the more likely they are to be preserved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what's the particular lithology here?
So this is a pretty fine-grained, probably a little bit limey mudstone. So there's a little, I think everyone's calling it a micrite or a micritic limestone. So it's just a really fine-grained mix of mud and a kind of a lime calcareous cement.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then the other thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at these leaves is the edges here and whether they have teeth or not. Because there's kind of a strong relationship between the number of different species in a flora, especially that come from trees and shrubs that have teeth, and how cold a climate is. So the more smooth margin leaves you see, like this one's a really smooth margin leaves. And the more smooth margin species you find in a leaf flora, the warmer the temperature.
Gotcha.
So you were talking earlier about using clues to understand the world that the dinosaurs lived in. Leaf fossils can help give some indication of what the temperature was like.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really
important stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot. I know I'm all about the dinosaurs, but arguably this stuff is more scientifically important.
My other reason that I love fossil leaves is that in a few hours you can often find many, many, many species, whereas like you might work for
years
on
digging up a single dinosaur
one.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a joy in diversity and data. Yeah.
Really, really cool. We had another question about how plants changed during the time of the dinosaurs, which I could answer, but you could probably do a better job doing that.
You're welcome to if you'd like to.
Well,
What's
shoot,
your favorite story?
It would probably, the correct answer is probably the rise of the angiosperms, flowering plants, which happened in like the early Cretaceous. So, yeah. Imagine a world without flowers, without grasses, without lots of like fruit-producing trees and stuff like that. That was the world that the dinosaurs lived in until the early Cretaceous period, and at which point you've got flowering plants that start to evolve. And it probably shaped dinosaur evolution in a lot of interesting ways, I would imagine.
It very likely did. It definitely shaped insect evolution because now there were things to pollinate. But yeah, the first records of angiosperms of flowering plants seem to be in the earliest Cretaceous, but that means probably they evolved earlier than that.
Yeah,
and
we just haven't found them yet.
Those fossils are hiding from us. Yeah, I think that's probably the big story.
Right.
But there's some other kind of cool hidden stories. So there's a flora that's the exact same age as these fossils that was found in central Wyoming in the Meeteetse Formation, where because the leaves were preserved in ash instead of in a lake, it preserved the landscape exactly as it was
That's
in
awesome.
that moment. It's so cool. And what it shows is that although most of these other floras of the same age mostly have flowering plant leaves in them, it showed that cycads and ferns and some other plants, ginkgos of the Mesozoic era, are still really common, but they just weren't getting fossilized as readily as these flowering plant leaf floras. And so there's some kind of cool stories still hiding around during the age of dinosaurs. But I do think I agree that the rise of flowering plants is kind of the key Mesozoic story. Yeah.
And that sounds like a really cool site because it seems like once angiosperms evolve, it's like they just kind of fall off the map. Or all the other plants, ginkgos, cycads, stuff like that. I guess Bennettitales go extinct.
They go completely extinct. But then there's some really neat ones, like many conifers are still with us today. And just the other day, Fisher found a ginkgo leaf right above the fish layer down in the quarry.
I would have loved to have seen that shoot.
Ginkgos are still around today, but they are so much more diverse in the Mesozoic.
Is there just one species today?
There's just one species today.
And they used to be like hundreds or thousands of species, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
probably
nuts.
Dozens at least, yeah. And you can find 55 million year old, so after the age of dinosaurs, fossil leaves of ginkgo that look exactly like the ginkgo leaves we find today on trees. But ginkgos were actually close to going extinct. They were really only found in just one small area, and my story could be a little wrong, so people should look this up and check it for themselves. But my understanding is that they were being cultivated in just one small area by
China,
monks
right?
In China, yeah. And it was when other people came and started visiting that location and bringing seeds back out. That's how they got to the rest of the world.
Very
and now,
cool.
because they're so adaptable, eastern cities are just filled with ginkgos. But
back
we
home,
wouldn't even know about them if it hadn't been for people preserving them and caring for them.
Yeah, that's really neat.
I know.
So back home in California, like in San Francisco and Oakland, Alameda, there's ginkgo trees everywhere. They're like a really kind of a favorite tree of urban arborists, I think.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure that you plant the male ones, because the female ones produce these big smelly fruits. Yeah, and they're really messy, and occasionally you'll see like where an arborist goofed up and planted a female one, and it causes a big mess.
A cool thing about, because ginkgos are so long lived, there's a group of people at the Smithsonian that have been studying the little tiny gas openings in their leaves, the stomata.
I've read about this, under different like conditions in greenhouses, right?
Exactly. Across cities in the United States and around the world, and looking at the density of stomata in the tissue. And because fossils of ginkgos are so well preserved, oftentimes you can get the cuticle preserved. You can count the density of stomata in those as well. And the goal is to understand how the density of stomata in ginkgo reflect carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, in the growing conditions where the plants are, and then be able to trace carbon dioxide through time deep into Earth's history.
Really cool stuff.
It is
really cool stuff.
Work, yeah. I probably am misquoting the exact details of that work.
I'm sure the basic idea is correct, and that's the cool part. So
So many cool things you can do with fossil leaves, and
definitely,
it's really just fun and really to find them.
Yeah. Shoot. Thanks for talking with us. I can let you get back to work, but we might come back up here in a little bit if we get a big raid or something.
My goal is to wrap up this site today and move on and look for other things, other places.
Nice. All right. Cool. Thanks, Mandy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Wow, neat stuff, everybody. And I guess I should do a station break real quick and just like kind of reintroduce myself for anybody who may have just come in to chat. But welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. This is the best way that I know of how to do that, especially when I'm out here in the field. If you've got any questions at all about dinosaurs in particular, because that's what I work on personally, that's what I dig up and what I publish on, what I study, or if you've got questions about fossil science in general, questions about paleontology, questions about the history of life on our incredible planet Earth, or questions about the philosophy of science itself, it's all fair game. Don't be shy with those questions. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. And DNH, I agree. Every fossil, not just dinosaurs, is important. Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah. And how likely is it to find a fossil tree stump? We've got a few of those here at Cooking Fat. They could be difficult to collect, and they're not necessarily as scientifically informative as, say, the leaves. So yeah, we're not super focused on finding fossil wood or, collecting big fossil logs or anything like that. Because, it's a lot of work. They take up a lot of space. They're very heavy. And, with leaves, fossil leaves, you get a lot more bang for your buck. For sure. And you have a mega question, Top Trike. Well, I hope you'll ask it. Welcome. It's good to have you here. Let me go drink some more water, too. And Soapstone Saint says, hello from the geology side. Well, welcome to Wyoming. There's some of the world's greatest geology right here in this state, and we're digging through some of it in order to find these fossils. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Are you a geologist yourself? Good stuff. Here, let me drink some water. There's an island, Boston Harbor, that petrified it. Very cool, Denjoga. Yeah, there's some of that around here too. It's just not always very scientifically informative. There's only so much data that you can glean from fossil wood. Not the most diagnostic part of the tree, it seems. Finish up this canteen. And greetings from Italy, says Ice Twitch TV. Welcome, Ice Twitch. Greetings from beautiful wild Wyoming here in the United States. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. And usually stay on the igneous side of things. Oh, so you're from the other side of the geological tracks there, Soapstone Saint. But it's fun to poke around in all things rock? Yeah. So, I work pretty much exclusively in sedimentary rock, because that's where we get the fossils. And, but igneous rock sometimes, oftentimes contributes to sedimentary rock. Got to get those sediments somewhere. So, igneous rock's good for something, in my opinion. I'm just kidding. Don't mean to be bad-mouthing igneous rock. But, yeah. And Bush Doctor 78 says hello from England. Well. Welcome to Wyoming. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. There's some sand in that mouthful. We end up eating a lot of grit out here, as you'd imagine. Working in the rock all day, and then going back to camp and having sand blow around all over the place and getting our macaroni and cheese and everything else. And Cooking Fat says, were there any other bones behind the fossil you put in a jacket and removed? Which one, you mean? Done a lot of jackets this summer. We're hoping there will be. So at the other site, as we speak, at the Ceratopsian site, they're removing overburden to be able to expose more of the bone layer and find more bones, we hope. That's the goal. Hopefully we've got a whole skull in there, all disarticulated, but we'll see. Yeah. What are the tasting notes of sand? Notes of grit and earth, and maybe Cretaceous river or stream, if it's from a fluvial environment. All right, and that's that for that canteen. Yeah. Keeps your minerals that way. There you go. Okay, two-play, yeah. And Top Trike says, from your particular field, do you find evidence that suggests humans have been around a lot longer than what is currently acceptably considered? Not at all. No. So we're digging in rocks here that are 73 million years old. This is from right near the end of the age of dinosaurs. So that big asteroid hit 66 million years ago and wiped out the dinosaurs except for a handful of birds. And about maybe 70% of all other species on Earth died out at the same time. We don't get fossils of anatomically modern humans until about 200,000 years ago. So very, very, very recently. And then human ancestors, like earlier hominids, they only show up around, maybe 4 million years ago at the earliest, something like that. And these are things that are very different from modern humans. Some of our ancestors, like Australopithecus and, hominids like that, I think are about 3 million years old. So yeah, we've got a pretty good understanding nowadays of human evolution and human ancestry. If you were to ask me this question 40 years ago, A, I wouldn't have been born yet, and B, we wouldn't have had nearly as clear a picture. But there's been a lot of field work, a lot of fossils found in Africa, which is the birthplace of humanity. That's where our species first evolved. We've got a pretty decent understanding, a pretty clear, lineage. There are many, many, many people who work on paleoanthropology, looking for human ancestors. And, we've got a pretty clear picture of how that went down. Hope that answers your question. I don't specialize in this kind of thing. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I work in rocks that are a lot older than that. But you pick up a few things along the way, and I've spoken with paleoanthropologists, and I think I've got a nice oblique understanding of kind of where that field currently sits. Yeah. And how many canteens do you go through a day? Just one, because I only have one canteen out here, Samus, but I've got multiple water bottles and Camelback and some stuff like that. Yeah. And let's see. And does a day of overburden ever lead to an evening of overbourbon? It hasn't yet, Fall Machine. But there might be bourbon camp. I'm not telling. Then I'd have to share. And Solvotrode says, how will humans look like in 200,000 years? I don't know if we'll still be around in 200,000 years. Shoot. We'll see, you know? Yeah. And ever find any really cool rocks instead of fossils? Gran Brigite? That would kind of be a lousy day. But yeah, it's happened. We're after the fossils, you know? The rocks are our means of getting to the fossils. That's what the fossils are preserved in. But I've found some cool rocks before, I suppose. I found a little bit of amber in, like, the Hell Creek Formation. But yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Yeah. And we've got some visitors. We'll see if they want to be on camera or if they don't. I'll be respectful of that. And really, amber counts. It's been really, really tiny, tiny, tiny bits of amber. So, and it basically like crumbles to dust as soon as it's exposed. None of this like beautiful Jurassic Park style amber. I've never found any of that before. But it does happen. Just not typically in the same places where we find like dinosaur fossils, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And it did not have a mosquito inside, Top Drag. No. No. Anyway. But yeah. I'm gonna go get some more water actually. Now that we're talking about that. Oof. Yeah. Oh, and let me show off while we're here. More of these clam fossils. Unionid clams. Apparently these guys have got a really interesting life history, these unionid clams. Let me see if I can find that text from Jim where he was talking about it with me. Let's see. And yeah, Jim says unionid bivalve larvae have an obligate parasitic relationship globally with fish as a dispersal mechanism. Yeah. Yeah, so basically these fossil clams here belong to a group that's still around today called unionids. It's probably a wastebasket group, so they might not all actually have a common ancestor. But these guys, their larvae are like free swimming, and apparently they get into the gills of fish, and that's how they get spread to new environments. You don't think of clams as being a particular mobile kind of animal, but they get dispersed through fish. So like basically those little larvae get into the fish's gills as like a parasite, and then they, I don't know exactly what happens there, but they get spread to new environments that way. The fish carry them around unwittingly, and that's how they spread to new environments, which is cool stuff. They are pretty neat. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Take a look at chat. You ever heard of that before? Sad spectacle? It's pretty neat. Yeah. You can look it up. Unionid bivalve clams. U-N-I-O-N, union, and then onid, O-N-I-D. They're cool critters. You know, you don't think of clams as being a particularly dynamic animal. But when you start to understand how they actually disperse to new environments by parasitizing fish, like suddenly they're a lot more interesting. They're like ocean dandelions. There you go, Kino Wolf. Yeah. And Rogan27, thank you for the raid. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. And welcome back to Wyoming. I'm here at Turtle Hill today, and Fisher's hard at work over there finding some microvertebrate fossils. And it's a good day. I'm glad you could be here with us. And oh, is Jim in chat right now? I missed him. Let's see. Jim says they are a very distinct monospecific group. Origins in the Paleozoic. Interesting, Jim. Huh. I don't know why I thought that they were a wastebasket group, but I guess they aren't. Very cool. Thanks, Jim. Hope you're doing well, by the way. Happy weekend. Hope you're having a good one. And we were exploring Mars in a game from the early 1990s. This felt similar. Well, Rogan, awesome. It's good to have you here. Everybody, Joe Rogan himself just raided in with like 15 viewers. Welcome, Joe. It's good to have you here. Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit less sagebrush on Mars, but, you know, this feels about as dry as Mars would, I think. Yeah. Also, not as many cool fossils on Mars. You don't get dinosaurs there. Anyway. And Arctic Camel, hey, it's good to have you here. Welcome, welcome. The amount of nerds and knowledge in this chat makes me so happy. It's not just nerds. Some of us are science jocks, you know, Arctic Camel. Yeah. Like Fisher. Fisher's a big jock.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And Shayna says, hi there. Hi there to you, Shayna. It's probably been asked a million times before. How do you choose a prospective dig site? You're right about that, having been asked a million times. But, yeah, so we do what we call prospecting. Once we have the same, like the general area picked out, that we know where we want to look for fossils, the way that you actually find a particular site to dig at is through what we call prospecting. So I'll show you how that works. You go to an area with some exposed rock like this, and you walk along, and you pick up anything that looks unusual. So like that's just a piece of kind of iron-rich sand. You know, got some more sandstone like this. That is a piece of deer scat. You know, you just kind of do this until you find bits of bone. Or whatever else you're looking for. Clams, plants, what have you. But, you know, bone is what I actually look for out here, so we'll talk about that. So this almost looks bony, but nope, that's a piece of wood right there. But it almost has the right texture for bone. So basically you find bits of bone that are eroding out on the surface, and then you try and find the source. You look for where they're eroding out from. You find that bone layer, and if you're really lucky, it's an associated skeleton. You can identify what kind of critter it is, you dig in, and you know, you've got yourself a site. That's what happened here at Turtle Hill a few years ago, where somebody found some bits of turtle. That's why it's called Turtle Hill. And we realized after digging in further that this is just a treasure trove of all kinds of really important fossils. Microvertebrates, invertebrates, plants. It's an awesome place, Turtle Hill. And we're really lucky to have this site. Just this one site alone, this is going to be the vast majority of our faunal list for here in the Almond Formation. When I say fauna list, I mean like a list of all the different critters that lived in this fauna. Like different animals that lived here. And different plants too. Floral list. This is going to be awesome for the Almond Formation. Yeah. And Gino Wolf says, one researcher we were talking to earlier was looking at a rock formation that had 3 different layers of exposed fossils, about 1 to 2 feet per layer. And there you go, Gino Wolf. Yeah. We've actually got several different fossil-bearing layers right here at Turtle Hill. Oh, is that what you were talking about? You were talking about Fisher pointing that out? Yeah. Yeah. And always interested in learning more about turtles. They're pretty fascinating animals, Clicking Cat. They really are. And they've got a rich and a wonderful fossil history, those turtles. Pretty cool. And always excited to hear about fossilized plants. Were you here earlier, Strange Hamburger, for when Mandy was talking about them? Because that was a real treat. Yeah, she's I guess no longer practicing paleobotanist. She's got an important job in a museum that's not super closely related to paleobotany, but she went to grad school for paleobotany. Yeah. And, yeah. Anyway, let me go get some more water. And that canteen has been depleted. Put that by my bag, too, so I don't leave it today. And holy cow, it's like almost 4:45 already. Time flies when you're streaming on Twitch. Good stuff. Danny could be standing on fossils right now, says Keenan Wolfie. I mean, I certainly am. There will be fossils under my boots right here at some point. You know, given that we're at about 7,000 feet of elevation here, yeah, there definitely will be fossils somewhere under there. We're really lucky when they're right on the surface where we can find them. Because if you just dig in a random spot, you'll probably never find anything. Unless you dig like miles down, potentially, you know. We find fossils on the surface. That's how it works. Anywho. Let's continue. Grab my canteen here. Let's go get some water. Past our uniotid clams again. There we go. And this water bottle, oh boy, such a treat. Listen to this. You hear that? When I went to town yesterday to get my tire patched, I got to stop by a convenience store and fill this thing full of ice, and there's still some in here. Man, that's good. So I'll try and kind of use that sparingly. Yeah, good stuff. And Top Trike says, are there any extraordinary size comparisons between a modern turtle and an ancient turtle, given that oxygen was more dense? It actually wasn't back then. So I don't know why people think this, but during the age of dinosaurs, it's not like there was much more oxygen in the atmosphere or anything. There wasn't. In fact, it seems like... Well, I'll put it this way. The Mesozoic, also known as the age of reptiles or the age of dinosaurs, from the Triassic period through the end of the Cretaceous, it's a long time. That's like, what, over 180 million years. And so atmospheric composition would have changed, fluctuated during that long time. But it's not like oxygen was universally at a higher level during the Mesozoic or anything like that. In fact, if anything, oxygen levels may have actually been lower. We do know that carbon levels would have been higher, generally speaking, throughout the Mesozoic. There was just more carbon in the atmosphere. You had higher global temperatures back then. Kind of a greenhouse effect, sort of a deal going on. So yeah, turtles back then, we had some really big fossil turtles from the late Cretaceous, critters like Basilemes, whose name means king turtle. But I think that sucker might be like maybe 1.5 meters, like 5 feet long, something like that. I don't know, you can look it up, Basilemes. But it's not like they were super gargantuan or anything. There were giant sea turtles during the Cretaceous, ones with a shell length of maybe like 15 feet. So like approaching 5 meters. But yeah, it's not like turtles were super gigantic back then. The biggest turtle that ever lived, biggest land-living turtle, I think would be something like Colossocheles, which I think is from the Pleistocene of Australia. So it's from not that long ago, like actually practically last Thursday, geologically speaking. And it was probably hunted to extinction by people, unfortunately. But yeah. And Kino Wolfie says, so less oxygen means bigger animals. No, that's not the case either. Forget this whole, like, oxygen tied to the size of creatures idea, because it's really not that much of a thing. Even with the giant insects of the Carboniferous period, Mississippian and Pennsylvanian periods, it doesn't, I don't know. I think there's a growing consensus that it wasn't necessarily elevated oxygen levels that caused those arthropods to get really big. You know, like ancestral insects and millipedes and stuff like that. Some of them did get really big. You had millipedes or millipede-like animals about the size of a, you know, like as long as a car. Like 13 feet long, something like that for Arthropleura. But it may just be that there was very little competition, so they were allowed to get really big, because you didn't have big vertebrate animals back then. It might not have that much to do with elevated oxygen at all. I don't know. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. That's not my area of expertise. I don't work on that stuff. So, yeah, it'd be nice to talk to a researcher for whom, like, that's actually what they do, talking about this. That's not me. And Big Mo says, I think it was a TV show that popularized the theory of high oxygen in dinosaur times. Interesting. Yeah. And Top Trike, I'm in the right place at least now. Yeah, you bet. I'm really happy to be able to do that. Like, I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to clear up any misperceptions that people might have, and I'm also here to learn too. If you know something that I don't, I'm eager to hear it. And Paleo Jim says dinosaurs have amazingly efficient respiration like birds. Absolutely, Jim. Yeah. Especially your Saurischian dinosaurs, your theropods and sauropods. If you type in !oxygen in the chat, I have a command that talks all about that. But yeah, birds, their respiratory system is extremely efficient. Like, it makes us as mammals look like chumps by comparison. We breathe in, our lungs expand, and then we breathe out, our lungs contract. And that's extremely inefficient in the sense that, like, your cells aren't being oxygenated during that exhale. Birds will take a breath in, and it'll stay in there. It'll go through their air sacs and kind of be in there, and then it'll go from their air sacs into their lungs. And while they're doing that, they're taking a second breath, and then a third breath before the first breath comes out. It's much, much, much more efficient. So they're able to process oxygen, like get oxygen to their cells in a much more efficient manner. And that's one of the keys to birds being able to fly so well. And at such high altitudes, too. Birds can fly much, much, much higher in the sky than bats can, for instance, because they can do a lot more with less oxygen. So birds actually inherited that respiratory system from their dinosaur ancestors. And we know this by studying dinosaur fossils. It's really most of the things that make birds really cool and unique among modern animals. Everything from their hollow bones to their respiratory system, from their hinge-like ankle joint to their folding wrists, even their feathers and their wishbones. Those are all just evolutionary hand-me-downs from their dinosaur ancestors. We've probably got the turkey command going already, but yeah. Kino Wolfie says, can confirm, am a mammal, am chump. Yeah. And Hogan says, is that why birds are so sensitive to air pollution? It might be, like the whole canary in the coal mine thing. I think a lot of birds are also just very small-bodied. And so it takes much less of a pollutant in order to be harmful to them. But yeah, since they are taking in a lot more air and like processing it like that, that might have something to do with it too. I'm not totally sure, actually. Yeah. Captain Puggers, there you go. Fitzaury says, Danny, maybe a stupid question. I bet it's not. My dog is my best friend in the world. How many millions of years ago did we venture off from... Oh, so dogs and humans, how recently did we share a common ancestor? We've got just the guy in chat to ask that, or just the guy here on site, rather, to ask that question to, chat. Let's go ask Fisher about this. And let's talk about placental mammals and common ancestry. All right, Fisher, we got a mammal question for you. Batter up.
All right.
Okay, so humans and domestic dogs.
Okay.
How recently did we share a common ancestor?
Okay, so there are four main groups of placental mammals alive today. So we've got the Atlantogenodons, which is Xenarthrans and Afrotherians.
Nice.
Xenarthrans are going to be your South American mammals, sloths, anteaters, armadillos. Afrotheres are your African mammals, like elephants, hyraxes,
manatees.
Manatees, exactly.
Yeah.
Elephant shrews, golden moles, otter shrews, aardvarks, that kind of stuff.
So that's Atlantogenata there. That's our first group. Yeah.
And then you've got Boreoeutheria, which is going to include Euarchontogliers, which is rodents, rabbits. Those are the gliers. And then Euarchonta is humans, primates, as well as our closest relatives, the colugos and tree shrews. And then sister to the Euarchontogliers is Laramidian, which is going to be your small insectivores like shrews and moles, your bats, your carnivorans like dogs and cats, your pangolins, and then your ungulates.
Okay.
And so I believe that Atlantogenata and Boreoeutheria split apart sometime in the Middle Cretaceous, probably about 100 million years ago.
Okay.
So Boreoeutheria splitting between Laramidian, which has dogs, and Euarchontogliers that has humans, probably a little later, maybe like 80 million years or something.
Okay.
This is kind of just a hunch. I'm not exactly certain.
And it's probably not super well known either.
Yeah. It's hard. It'd have to be some sort of molecular clock study.
Yeah. So probably around 80 million years ago, you suspect. So during the late Cretaceous.
Definitely in the Cretaceous, absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe like about 7 million years before these rocks. So, and that common ancestor would be something that would look kind of like a shrew, right?
A mouse, a shrew, some sort of very small generalized mammal, likely an insect eater,
Yeah.
probably no bigger than a rat. Although there are some relatively large Mesozoic mammals, up to a badger size, but likely that common ancestor would have been
large,
small generalized.
badger-sized.
Yeah.
Large by Mesozoic mammal standards, yeah. Thank you, Fisher. That's cool. Yeah. So again, when we say common ancestor, we mean like that was the ancestor of both the Uarchontans and the Laurasiatheres, you said?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it would have looked something like a shrew. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, Fisher. I appreciate that. Yeah. And will this be on the test? Everyone asks. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I hope you're studying up for that. Yeah. And anyway, good stuff. Yeah, so Fisher's our resident mammal person here. Not just because he is a mammal, but also he's very interested in the evolution of mammals. I'd say most of us in camp are mammals, but not all of us work on mammals. In fact, none of us really do, except for Fisher. Yeah. And yeah, nice. An awkward cyborg says, but still it's fascinating to know that our mammal ancestors survived the KPG extinction event. Well, that's the thing, is they almost didn't. I've got this lovely figure from a paper that's not published yet. Not one of my papers, but from a colleague, my mentor back at Berkeley. And it might be something like 90% of the mammals at the end of the Cretaceous wiped out, extinct, gone, because of that asteroid. It's only about 10% of mammal species that actually survived. And so we're very lucky in that our particular mammal ancestors happened to survive that. But it very nearly could have gone a different way, and mammals could have gone extinct alongside the dinosaurs, who also didn't go completely extinct, because it was like 4% of bird species survived, or something like that. And so those have evolved into all the different birds that we have today. Over 9,000 species of living bird. And yeah, we were so lucky, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, Charlie's Dragon, absolutely. It is something like maybe 80%, 70%. We don't have a good official tally, but like the majority of species on Earth went extinct when that asteroid hit. It was a bad time. Bad day to be a creature on planet Earth 66 million years ago. Yeah. Mayor Space says, what, 9,000? Yeah. Over 9,000 species of birds. Yeah. And old cheeky Chicks Lubin back there. You go, Grand Bridget. Yes. And White Smoke, how are you doing? Welcome back to Paleontologizing. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. And seeing a little Diprotodon. No, I've not seen that dinosaur, Dave. That sounds cool. And I am drinking lots of water, Dova. Thank you for asking. Yeah. And Top Trike, a what fan? No, I've just seen some memes online. That's really it. I've never even played Dragon Ball. I don't even know what the rules are. And Vinny the Pooh, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Good stuff. And Netmensch says, I wonder if it had wiped out all life on Earth, if life would have emerged again eventually. That's a good question. We really don't know. That's also what makes astrobiology so difficult, is like, we don't actually have any data points for life anywhere else in the universe. We don't have any other examples of that. We know that life emerged at least once on Earth, and if it ever emerged again, a second time, it would probably just immediately get eaten by the life that was already here. And so we don't really know how common or how difficult it is for abiogenesis to occur. We don't know. We've got one data point for that, and that's it. It's hard to extrapolate based on just one data point. Yeah. And Season B says, I think it'd leave so much organic matter behind that it'd just have to emerge again. Maybe, yeah. Again, it makes sense, but we really we can't say for certain. Yeah. And Fitzhouri says, thank you for being so amazing to new viewers and sharing the love of science. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Fitzhouri. Appreciate your kind words. Thank you. And for anybody just joining us, too, let me introduce myself real quick and tell you where we are. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist doing paleontological fieldwork out here in Wyoming, digging in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. We're at a site called Turtle Hill right now. And it's a good day. It's a good moment, too. We got this beautiful big cloud blocking out the sun, making things nice and cool for the next couple minutes. That's a big cloud. Bigger than we've gotten so far for the most part. This is nice. Take my hat off, just enjoy the cool for a second. Out of the direct sun. Yeah. Chlorojet says, isn't there a boring billion period of time when all life was microscopic? It's more like 3 billion years. Yeah. Yeah, shoot. We think that life on Earth emerged about 4 billion years ago. Earth was only formed about 4.54 billion years ago. And so life comes about pretty quickly, within like 500 million years. And then it pretty much stays very small and kind of unicellular for a long time. Maybe 1 billion years, maybe longer, actually. Might be closer to 2 or 3 billion. I don't totally know. Again, I work on dinosaurs, so I don't often concern myself with that kind of thing. I suppose if I were to teach a class about the history of life on Earth, which one of these days I probably will, in one capacity or another, I'll have to learn all this stuff and get it down pat. Yeah. And Cry Far Cry, how are you doing? Welcome. Yeah. Now, what is the current temperature today? Let's take a look at that. Thank you for pulling that up, Charlie's Dragon. 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity 18%. It's higher than it has been. The humidity was down to like 5% the other day. Really low. But we did get some rain yesterday, which is one of the reasons I couldn't stream yesterday. It's because of that rain. We got rained out of the site. But now we're here and it's beautiful blue skies. Big, fluffy, lovely clouds, and fossils galore. So I'm glad you're here, everybody. Star Trek episode where they'd evolved bipedal dinosaur lizard. But yeah, Cirque, that's kind of a long-running idea. Dale Russell put forth that idea back in the 70s. And actually, Paleo Jim, who's here in the chat, Jim Kirkland, actually wrote a Star Trek novel about this with Diane Carey, co-author. It's called First Frontier. So if you're a Star Trek fan, and if you like dinosaurs, you should check that out, because, what was the Star Trek novel official number something? 73, I want to say? I don't know. I don't know a lot about Star Trek, but, but Jim Kirkland, who's in the chat right now, he wrote that Star Trek novel. Spock meets T-Rex, as he says. Yeah. You've not heard about this? Oh, Zucchini Puff. Yeah, we'll talk about it when I'm in the field with Jim later this summer. That's going to be cool. And I'll remember to bring my copy out and have him sign it. Number 75. Yeah. You can get it for less than $4 on Thrift Books. Thank you, Claire. Good stuff. Yeah. And Jim Kirkland is in the chat. He's going to be on stream later in the summer. Top Trek? Yeah, absolutely. 75. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Good stuff. And hope we find a planet that has dinos on it. That would be so cool, says Dova Keen. That would be very cool, but also, unless dinosaurs left Earth to populate another planet, then that's not really possible. That's the thing about dinosaurs, or any other creature, is that, if it's a proper taxonomic group, if it's like a group of animals that's actually related to one another, or a group of organisms that are related to one another, they have to share a common origin. So even if you found creatures on another planet that looked just like dinosaurs, they wouldn't actually be dinosaurs, because they didn't evolve from that dinosaur ancestor. They would have had a different evolutionary trajectory, they would have had different ancestors, they wouldn't be dinosaurs. Does that make sense? That's kind of like how the koala is not a bear, you know? Even though it might look kind of like a bear, I guess, if you squint and stand on your head. It's not a bear because it evolved from different ancestors. The way that we as scientists classify living things is based on their phylogeny, based on their ancestry, based on what they evolved from. So when we say that two creatures are closely related, what we're saying, what's implicit in that statement, is that they shared a recent common ancestor. So not too long ago, they were the same thing. Like, they came from the same ancestor. In the same way that, like, you're related to your cousins, let's say. You know? You're not the same thing as your cousin. You know? You're different people. But both you and your cousin share a common ancestor. You've got at least one common grandparent between you. That's why you're cousins. Does that make sense? We classify living things the same way. It's based on ancestry. Yeah. If we find some insects, we wouldn't have the right to call them insects. They would be different, waterfowl. Yeah, they would have a different kind of ancestor if they were on a different planet. Yeah. Yeah. They would not be insects. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. And GS Possum says a Michael Jackson impersonator isn't Michael Jackson, just looks like him. There you go. Although maybe they are Michael Jackson if they had a name change. But, yeah, you know, like that guy on The Simpsons. Yeah. And let's see. Derek Helling Sports says, if the KPG extinction event never occurred, do you think dinosaurs and their closest relatives might have developed a society similar to ours eventually? I don't know about that. I'm really leery of taking like an overly human-centric view of things. To be like, oh, well, as human beings, we are the pinnacle of evolution, and everything wants to be us. Like, you know, I can't say that with a straight face. Dinosaurs were around for a really long time, and they still are. Birds are still around. But non-avian dinosaurs first evolved around 235, maybe even 240 million years ago. They lived until 66 million years ago. That's a long time. That's like 176 million years, something like that. It's a long, long, long time. And maybe there was a kind of a gentle overall increase in brain size or behavioral sophistication. But I don't know. I think in a lot of ways humans are kind of special in a weird way. We're weird critters. We really are. We've got freakishly large brains. And that's kind of the key to our success, is like being able to cooperate with one another and form society because of our large brains, and our ability to communicate with one another. For some reason, like that was, I don't know, it was just kind of a weird fluke that like that happened to evolve in our lineage, and we were able to take over the world and really kind of mess it up in certain ways. We might be a failed evolutionary experiment in the long run if we do manage to just completely nuke the planet like we're currently kind of trying to do, through climate change or even through nuclear war. So who knows? You know, we might not be around that much longer. That's up to us, you know. Top Trike says large brains that we only use a tiny percent of. That's a myth, by the way. That whole thing like, oh, the average person only uses 6% of their brain. Total myth. That's not true. You use like your whole brain. That's what it evolved for. Yeah. Some people you gotta wonder about sometimes, but yeah. And honestly, you can never anticipate how wildly different dinosaurs would be after millions of years, considering humans have developed. Keenan Wolfie, potentially, yeah. And we had another good question or thing too from Shayna. Shayna79 said, a very long time ago, my dad was a bit of a part-time opal miner. Had a mine they gave to a local in White Cliffs, Australia. He found an opalized plesiosaur. Very cool. Dad was always glad that the other guy actually found it, or we would have not known what it was, and it would have been destroyed. That's awesome, Shayna. That wasn't was it Kirby? They nicknamed an opalized plesiosaur, or maybe it was Eric? I forget the name. But, yeah. That's not unheard of out there in Australia, to find cool opalized fossils like that. Even opalized vertebrates like plesiosaurs. It's neat stuff. That's really cool that your dad found that, Shayna. That's awesome. Yeah. And Jim says dinosaurs would have been on the moon by the Oligocene. I wonder about that, you know? Yeah. You'd know better than I would, Jim. Let's see. Scrolling, trying to catch up. And Valiant Cheese says, that said, we're frequently discovering that different brains are capable of doing things that we previously thought only our large human brains could do. That's true, Valiant Cheese. Whether it's cetaceans or whether it's birds, corvids. Yeah. And Enforcer has got a great question, not a strange one. On these digs, who owns the land? Is this government land or privately owned? So we are working on Bureau of Land Management land, BLM land out here. And so we've got special permits to be able to prospect and collect and even dig big quarries if we need to. So we're working closely with that federal agency on our United States federal public lands. Yeah, you know that, is it a Pete Seeger song? This land is your land, this land is my land. Yeah. This land belongs to you and me. This is federal land, it belongs to we the people of the United States. And so as a result, we need to, respect it, we need to hold it in the public trust, we need to ensure that this land will be here long after we are gone, personally. So we can collect fossils here for the benefit of science, and every fossil that you collect on public land like this, every vertebrate fossil that you collect, needs to go to a public museum. It needs to be reposited, held in the public trust for time immemorial. And so all of the specimens that we collect here are going to end up in museums. So long after we're dead, paleontologists will be studying these to learn about the history of life on Earth. It's cool to be part of a project like this, to collect something and not only realize that, I'm the first living creature who has seen this, the remains of this other organism in 73 million years. I'm the first critter to see this in 73 million years. But also to kind of imagine into the future, this is going to be there in a museum to be studied by scientists or even admired by the public long after I'm dead and buried. It's pretty cool to think about, It's cool to be part of a larger project like that. Something bigger than just yourself, and it's Eric, the plesiosaur. Thank you, Valiant Cheese. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And there you go, Lenina. Thank you. Bureau of Land. Yeah. Shane, this is pretty awesome legacy to leave. Yeah, I like to think so. It's cool. In 1944. Thank you, Weird Adult. All right. Yeah, I'm getting my legends of American folk music mixed up. Woody Guthrie. Yeah. Yeah. And you may be the last person to see it until they open the jacket. Yeah, there you go, HD, yeah. And SB, this is not a new site, it's Turtle Hill, which I was here a few weeks ago. Weeks ago now? It must have been. Oh man, I've been out here for more than 3 weeks. I think this is day 23 or 24 for me, out here in Wyoming. Yeah. And hello to you, Spiral Walker. Hello. And welcome to Paleontologizing. Valiant Chew says, Eric is an Unmoonosaurus these days. He was something else when I was younger, and we were raising money so the Australian Museum could buy it. Very cool, Valiant Chews. Very cool. Yeah. And the stream title says day 22. Yeah, but we got here a day or two before we started actually working at these sites. So I think this is day 23. If we include travel days, then this is day 23 for me. Yeah. Which means it's been 23 days without a shower. And at this rate, it'll be 30 or 31 days before I'm able to get back to Salt Lake City and get my hotel room and take a very long And I hope a well-deserved shower. But there's been a lot of wet wipes back in camp that I've been using for personal grooming, so I'm not as filthy as you'd imagine. Far from it. I actually still smell pretty good, if I may say so myself. And Spiral Walker, it's great to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Let me know if you've got any questions. Yeah. Let me go get some water, though. And it is summer, HD and HB, absolutely. That's why I'm out here. Yeah. For everybody just joining us, welcome to Wyoming. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to some paleontological fieldwork. Digging here at Turtle Hill and streaming live from the wilds of Wyoming. It's time for me to get some water. And what's the coolest thing we found so far? Momo Moth the boat. Good question. It depends what you're interested in. If you're an invertebrate person, these unionid bivalves might be the most exciting and interesting thing found so far. If you're a plant person, some of these beautiful fossil leaves that we have are really interesting. If you're a bony fish person, some of the fishes that Fisher is finding right now are super, super cool. If you're a dinosaur person like me, then, well, shoot, that ceratopsian we've been digging up, we've got some really important skull bones from that. Some bones from the frill, very diagnostic. We are super excited about that. Stands a very, very good shot at being a new species or even a new genus. So, yeah, lots to choose from. You're an Olivet person, Momo? Awesome. Well, you're in the right place. Turtle Hill especially is a great site for Olivet. This is a nice kind of late Cretaceous sample platter. Can we see what Fisher has in that box? Okay to play? I think we can. Let me get some water first, and we'll take a look. And it's 5:15 already. Wow. I've got probably another 45 minutes until we got to wrap up. Think about heading back to camp. But got a real treat right now. Ice water. Good stuff. All right, here, I'm gonna set this down for a second. There we go. And did we just get a raid? What's going on here? Oh no, never mind. And is there anything interesting in Scotland? Top Trek, yeah, the Isle of Skye, I think, is up in Scotland, right? And there's some very cool early Jurassic fossils from there, which actually Fisher could probably tell you about that. Yeah. And let's see. And at Dinosaur, well, Dinosaur, you're in the right place. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Hello, hello. Rar indeed. Welcome. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I study dinosaurs. I mostly do like functional morphology of dinosaurs at this point, but I'm branching out into some other stuff too. And we're out in Wyoming digging up dinosaurs and other critters in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation here in Wyoming. And this is a site called Turtle Hill. And we're going to check out some of the critters that lived alongside the dinosaurs in this environment. Yeah. How's it going, Fisher?
Doing good.
Nice. Could we trouble you for a look through the special box of wonders?
Of course. Well, I've got two things here that are probably going to end up in that special box.
Ooh, so, nice.
First, we've got a tooth from this big fish Melvius right here.
Oh, look at that.
It's pretty
Lovely.
complete. We've got some more in the box I can show you as well.
Beautiful.
But this one's still in situ.
Nice. So everybody, this is a tooth of like a bowfin fish, if you're familiar with those. This would be a really big one, like 3 meters, like 10 feet long potentially. Big fish. Yeah.
And then here it looks like I might have either a metatarsal, well, probably a metatarsal of a little amphibian likely here.
Oh, nice.
And this is the first element, or actually I think the second element that's probably coming from an aquatic tetrapod that we've pulled out so far. So this morning we got a bone that was probably either part of the arm or the hand of maybe an amphibian.
Nice, nice.
And then recently got this, and we have a couple other things in the box that are probably also from an amphibian or a small reptile or something like that.
Exciting, shoot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good find. I'm pretty happy I got that one out in one piece. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, let's take a look at the box here. It might take me a moment to
no worries.
Get organized.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what's in each vial, and not everything is super interesting or identifiable even. But we've got some fun stuff in here that I'd be happy to show you. Let's see. So I think
those are tiny vials indeed. Wow.
Yeah, these might be coprolites or fossilized dung.
Oh wow, cool. Very nice.
Okay. Let's see. Here's some more Melvius teeth.
Oh, those are beautiful. Look at those. Awesome.
Different sizes and shapes.
Super cool.
Because these fish have a lot of teeth in their mouth. Not only do they have teeth in their tooth-bearing elements of their skull, so
their palate too?
The maxilla and the dentary and the premaxilla, but yes, like Danny said, in the palate, so the roof of the mouth are also going to have teeth in them.
Very cool. Those are like sharper than I would imagine. Did Melvius also have like the crushing plates, or is it just sharp teeth?
I'm not sure about that, but I know it has very sharp teeth, and I know we found some teeth that are probably palatal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Here's some of the really tiny Melvius teeth.
Nice.
These are likely from the palate.
Uh-huh.
Just because they're so much smaller than the other teeth.
Very cool.
I don't know how well the camera's picking this up, but hopefully well enough that we can get a good look. Is this? Yeah. This looks like the distal head of a femur, probably of a small amphibian.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
So you think frog or salamander for that? I guess it's probably hard to tell.
I wouldn't be able to tell. I
don't know.
No idea. I don't even know if it's really an amphibian, but that's my best guess given where we're pulling it out of.
Uh-huh. I mean, it doesn't look like a mammal femur, right?
No.
Could be a lizard potentially, but I don't really know my lizard femora very well.
Yeah, we'll have to have an expert.
Yeah.
Let's see, I know I've got some ray teeth in here as well. I think you guys would be interested in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Can I see those?
Of course.
Very cool. Take a look. Yeah. So that's from a kind of a freshwater ray. They might actually be more closely related to guitar fish. Critters like Myleobatus. I think they were used to thought to be rays, and now we think they're probably guitar fish relatives. And like similar to like sawfish and stuff. Really neat.
Yeah, so that's the cream of the crop of the box, I think.
Impressive fisher. That's really cool. Shoot. Wow, there you go, everybody. Holy cow. Yeah. So yeah, and all those are coming out of this layer right here.
Yeah, mostly this hash layer. If you like zoom in real close, you'll probably see, dozens of fossils in there. There's some bigger ones that I've stuck glue on, but if you look closely, you can find all sorts of stuff. There's a gar scale. There's a bit of a rib over here.
Yeah, the gar scale. Very cool. Brown shiny thing there. Awesome. Shoot. Really cool, Fisher. Thank you. Yeah. So before I started the stream today, I was working on trying to get down to that same layer that Fisher's got there. So I cleared away this whole area, and that kind of grayish layer that he's got, hopefully is just under here. So whoever gets to work here tomorrow will get to find all kinds of cool stuff. And if I'm lucky, that might be me. But we'll see where I'm at which site tomorrow. Paleo Jim says, Mylodaphis bipartitus. Oh, is it Mylodaphis? Cool. Thank you, Jim. And is that thought to be related to guitar fish? I might be thinking of Myleobatus, which we would get up in the Judith. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. Neat stuff. And we've got several people thanking you in the chat, Fisher, for... yeah, awesome. Awesome.
I'm happy to share it.
Yeah. And the Raven says, hello, I'll have one dinosaur, please. The Raven. We've had a couple of dinosaur bits from this site. A few. But this is mostly a site for other critters. Like just right here in this rock. We've got more clams, more bivalves, more unionids. Right there. Lots of cool stuff.
I think the dinosaur bone is actually still exposed over here on the eastern side if you want to go look.
Oh, is it? Oh, shoot. Yeah, I should go find that. The one that looks like an ankylosaur scute? Because I saw that in camp.
Oh, we brought that back, yeah. But this is a...
Different one?
Yeah, this is something that Logan found. I think when he found the site.
Nice, okay. Still on the surface. Let's see. So this is the layer that the plant fossils are coming out of, that Mandy's working on up there. But our dinosaur bone might be over here. Let's see.
It's gonna be lower down.
Lower down? Thanks, Fish.
I think it's on a big slab of rock.
Hmm.
Probably right below you.
Below me to the left. Huh. Oh. This looks like something. I don't think that's it, but it could be. Yeah. There were a few other scraps of dinosaur bone here that really don't look like much. This is not a site that you go to find dinosaur bone. We've got some other sites that are much, much better for that. This isn't it, is it? Oh, bingo! There it is. Yeah. There is our chunk of dinosaur bone. Can't really say what kind of dinosaur this is. We could say what it's not. This is not a compsognathid. This is not a stegosaur. I could go on and on with other dinosaur groups that are not from this area or from this time. But, yeah, dinosaur bone right there. That nice bony texture. Good stuff. It's like weirdly concreted too. Ugh. Not in the best shape. We've got more bone here. More bone here. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. It's not a hummingbird. Definitely not Mayor's-Space. Yeah. Anonymous says, what are the odds that all the hills in the direct area are full of fossils right on the surface? There are some around here. But they usually take some looking to find. In order to find a fossil in an environment like this, you've got to be there at just the right moment where erosion is happening to expose it. Because there will be fossils, important dinosaur fossils. You know, as we're walking up these hills to get to these sites in the morning, we're walking over I don't know how many different dinosaurs that are probably just below our boots. But in order to be able to find them, they have to be exposed at the surface. And Nivi says, how do you tell that it's a dinosaur bone versus another critter in a chunk like that? Here, I'll show you. With, say this right here, we can tell that's dinosaur bone based on its size. So there's no other large vertebrate animals in this environment that we know of, and so it basically has to be dinosaur just by default. Even if it were like a large crocodilian, the bone texture would be a little bit different for a croc, but crocs don't seem to get that big in this environment either. So if it's a large bone, it will be from a dinosaur. Pretty much no questions asked, you know? Yeah. So we could just kind of assume and be correct every time. And have we found any fossilized or opalized wood? We do have fossilized wood. Mow the boat. Oh. I was saying Momo Moth E-boat. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. Have you ever excavated something that looks questionable? Asked Top Trek. Questionable how? Questionable like we don't know what it is? Certainly, yeah. There were some bones at the Ceratopsian site the other day that we didn't know what they were. And we didn't want to really expose more of them because that would risk damaging them here in the field. You want to keep your field prep to a minimum at a lot of these sites. When I say field prep, I mean like cleaning away the surface of the bone to expose all of it. Like sometimes when you do that in under fieldwork conditions, you can wreck the thing in the field. It helps to keep some rock on top of it just to protect it, then wrap it up in plaster and burlap and take it back to the lab. So there were a few different elements that we took out of the Ceratopsian site the other day, and I don't know what they are. We won't know until we get them back to the laboratory. But they're from certainly some kind of Ceratopsian piece, we think. And I know this is not the last day. No, we'll be out here for more than another week. I think we've got, let's see, today's Saturday. We might have until next Saturday, actually. Maybe next Sunday, too, to continue digging. And then we got to pack up camp and go back to Utah. And from there, I'll be flying back to San Francisco. And is fossilized wood called petrified wood? It depends who you ask, Hugh. Yeah, I kind of use the terms interchangeably. I've seen in a museum placard in Rapid City, South Dakota, that fossilized wood preserves like the internal texture of the wood versus petrified wood, where the internal texture is obliterated through permineralization. I don't know if that's actually a distinction that paleobotanists make. Maybe we'll go ask Mandy about that, actually. Put her on the spot for a second. But, and there you go. Oh, yeah, 8 more days, something like that. Yeah. But we are trying to close out some of these sites as best we can, but we also keep finding new and awesome things. So we're going to keep working for as long as we have time. And we might have some late nights coming up. We'll see, as we try and close out some of these sites. But I'm really lucky I was able to stream today, bring you all along for the ride. Yeah. Any weird fossil bones that you dig out, malformations? Not really, Eliax. Sometimes you get that with dinosaurs that had injuries. So there's a really famous Allosaurus specimen from northern Wyoming, nicknamed Big Al, and he had all kinds of injuries during his life, like bones that were broken and then healed. So he's got these weird lumps on his ribs, weird growths on some of his finger bones, his phalanges. One of his toe bones is hugely swollen, and that was probably like a bone infection that may have been that thing that finally ended his life. But we call those pathologies, when you get like injuries in a fossil bone that show evidence of healing. So we know it happened during the animal's lifetime, while the animal was alive. It happens. And those can be really informative because they give us a clue as to like what the life of this animal was like. So for Big Al in particular, maybe he just had a bad attitude and like other allosaurs were beating him up. Maybe he was just really clumsy. Maybe he was just really aggressive. We don't know. But kind of gives you a window into the creature's life. Yeah. Are we wrapping up, Nick? Are we wrapping up pretty soon?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
We're trying to get up by 6?
Yeah, just about.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it.
About,
Yeah. Do you want to wave to chat? Yeah, there's Nick.
Gave blood sacrifice. Right down the center.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I'm joking, just listening.
Okay. Well, close enough, I guess. Yeah.
Way better. Look at this cool fashion statement. I'm bringing it back.
We got orange on those boots now. Nice. Now you won't get shot by a hunter. At least not in the boots.
If I'm doing high kicks, you know. They'll know.
There you go.
They'll know who I'm at, or who I am and where I'm at.
Nice.
Yeah, we took out the entire shelf. It looks completely different.
Oh, awesome, man! I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anonymous says, loving his drip as usual. Yeah.
Yeah, always styled in the
Yeah. Let's see, Mandy, we had a question for you. If I don't know if there is a proper answer for this, but as a plant person, can I put you on the spot?
Oh boy.
Is there a difference between petrified wood and fossilized wood?
That's a really good question. We were talking about that when I was training some of our museum staff recently, and maybe someone can jump in who's thinking about this as well. But I think like petrification is a subset of fossilized wood. So we've seen some wood here that is carbonized. So really it's just kind of all carbon now, and you can see that it was wood, but you can't see a lot of detail. But wood that has been mineralized in the wood, I think petrification is maybe a general term, or sort of a lay person's term, you know, so it's not a
That's what I always think of it as too,
maybe not a technical term. But when minerals fill in the pore spaces, then you can get really fine detail preservation, including tree rings. So I've seen tree rings on fossilized wood in Yellowstone National Park. It's really incredible. With the hand lens, you can jump down on a log cross section and just see gorgeous tree rings preserved.
Uh-huh.
So I think maybe it might be one type of fossilization.
Gotcha.
Here we've got carbonized wood in some of the layers that the leaves are above and below. And so that's another type of fossilization. So
Okay.
that's maybe how I would answer it. I'm sure other people would have other things they'd add to that as well.
Yeah, when I was in the School of Mines Museum in South Dakota, they had a display. I don't know if it's actually written by anybody who knows anything about paleobotany, but they were saying that the display said that petrified wood is where like the interior texture, like structure of the wood is obliterated by permineralization. And fossilized wood, you can still have
You
like
can still see
the rings and stuff in there.
I'm cool with that.
I don't know, yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured there wouldn't be like a hard and fast answer, so thank you for humoring us.
Yeah. I'm happy
appreciate
to
it.
think it through and would love to hear if anyone else has other thoughts on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mandy.
Yeah, have a good one.
And let's see here. And Twitchy Nose Rabbit says a fossil has been replaced, not transformed, right? It depends. So that's, it's a spectrum, I guess. With fossilization, you get different levels of fossilization and permineralization. But generally, with like a dinosaur bone that's fossilized, we'll say, a lot of the original organic material in it has been replaced by mineral from the surrounding rock and from the groundwater and stuff during fossilization. But a lot of the original mineral, like the hydroxyapatite that's already there in the bone, just like in your bones, that stuff is still the original material in the fossil bone. A lot of that doesn't get replaced because it's already mineral. But you get varying levels of that. And in some dinosaur fossils, you even get tiny bits of soft tissue that you can see like under a microscope occasionally. Like Mary Higby Schweitzer is famous for her work finding soft tissue in dinosaur bones. But it's super minuscule and it's only in very specific preservational environments, it seems. Having really iron-rich sediments might have something to do with that, too. Yeah. Does this still count for luck to knock on petrified wood? Even better, Kennedy. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And someone in the chat asked if I know Dr. Grant. Are you talking about from Jurassic Park? Because while he's a fictional character, he's actually based on my old boss, on Jack Horner, who was the dinosaur curator at Museum of the Rockies, a curator of paleontology at Museum of the Rockies. So I used to work for Jack, and he likes to joke in interviews and stuff. He's like, yeah, Alan Grant, that's me. It's a good thing he didn't get eaten in the movies. Yeah. And is it super hot? Is it in Salt Lake? Not really, Link for Real. No, I think it's cooler here. Yeah, we're lucky. 95 today, shoot. Well, I'll be back out there in Salt Lake in a little over a week, but I'll just be there for like a day. I'm getting a hotel room, gonna take a well-deserved shower after a month of field work and no showers. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. And Death Dealer 40 Cal, what a great username, by the way. Yeah. I was just joking, but Claire Burr kindly informed me, and that's an awesome fact. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, Claire. Yeah. I haven't showered in a month. It's just been 23 days so far, Illuminatics. But, I can take tent showers in the sense that I've got a bunch of wet wipes in my tent, and I make sure to bathe myself with that, every night before I get into the sleeping bag. So I'm actually, I'm smelling pretty good. Got a lot of deodorant, too. So yeah, for somebody who hasn't taken a real Hollywood shower, in the past 23 days, I think I'm relatively clean, considering that. Feral Danny still smells good. Yeah, thank you, Claire. Yeah. But it will be probably a whole month before, it's been 23 days so far. It's going to be at least another week till I get a shower when I'm back in civilization. Yeah, and that is going to feel good. That's going to be like a multi-hour shower there. Oh, man. Can't wait. But, I can wait. Because it's awesome to be out here. And I wouldn't trade this for anything right now. It's lovely to be out in the field, digging up fossils. Not just dinosaurs, but all kinds of cool ancient critters. Invertebrates like these unionid clams over here. vertebrates like the things that Fisher's finding, plants like what Mandy is finding. This is a wonderful site, and we're probably going to be digging here for years and years. Like, this is going to be a really important site for understanding the biodiversity of the Almond Formation, these rocks that are 73 million years old. You know, from these lovely fossil clams here to what Fisher's digging up there to the plants. It's all good stuff. So even though we as a crew are ostensibly most interested in the dinosaurs, every fossil that we get out of here is really important for understanding what this ancient environment was like and trying to fill in another piece in this grand puzzle of the history of life on Earth. It's been wonderful sharing this with all of you today. And yes, that does mean I am wrapping things up here. Oh, Science Streams, it's good to see you. Yeah. Well, yeah. And did digging out the overburden expose any bones? I will find out in a little bit, Sully Cat. Over at the Ceratopsian site. I'm excited to go see. In order to do that, I got to wrap up this stream, though. And a sniplet, how many aliens have you found that you can't talk about? Oh, we found a bunch, and I've already talked all about them. Everyone in chat's tired of hearing about them at this point. No. Anyway. To cut the tail end, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you, sportshub.com. Appreciate you. Let's see who else is live on Twitch at the moment. And we'll see if we can perform our little raid here. Let's see. Let's go say hello to... Well, let's go say hello to PaleoStream. Doing some art here. That'll be cool, I think. PaleoStream raided us yesterday, so we will return the favor and raid PaleoStream. Okay. There we go. Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thank you for your questions, your enthusiasm, your kind words, and your viewership. Just you watching helps support science outreach here on Twitch. And if you subscribed or cheered or moderated or did anything else to help support this community, I appreciate that even more. Holy cow. I'm only able to be out here and do field work like this and stream it because of this incredible community. So thank you very much for making this possible. Cross your fingers and wish me luck that tomorrow we'll be able to stream again. Because it's never a guarantee when you're doing field work like this. But it's been great having you here. And I hope to see you very soon. But let's go check out PaleoStream with German paleo artist Joshua Knupe, who does paleo art professionally. So we'll go check that out. I will see you later, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.